Oh, hello, yeah. Well, good grief. Turned out all bigoted again, didn't it? Yeah. Interesting split yesterday in the British media. Certain outlets, sort of led by The Guardian and ITV, were sort of talking about Nigel Farage and new allegations that he was a racist when he was younger. They've been fairly well reported in the past, but obviously they can't be true because Nigel says that he wasn't, and those things never happened. He has no recollection of, well, just being fairly racist when he was younger. Lots of other people do, though, especially when they were allegedly the victims of it. Or maybe they haven't. Maybe they're just having a go the way that people do. And that got me thinking about the very notion of, well, what exactly is a racist? Because the British media does seem to have an awful lot of problems actually coming to terms with these things. Because it strikes me that the only times that people actually are racist is when they're up in front of the beak on kind of neo-Nazi about to plant a bomb charge. In which case, well, we can definitely describe these people as racist, but other people that seem to do very similar things don't seem to be racist at all. It's quite strange. You might think of that kind of slew of reform councillors who've had to, well, just very politely be asked to go because, well, usually it's because they're a bit young, in which case they didn't really know what they were doing, but that just seems to apply to anybody under 30, or they're too old, which is generically applied to people over 60. Apparently, you're either too young or too old, in which case you're just allowed to be a racist because you're just a bit stupid. And in between, of course, if you are racist, well, it's because you're having a bit of a rough time, because your dog was unwell, or your nan shouted at you, or you're just a bit down. Yes, some of the latest ones have gone that way, which means that, of course, basically nobody's a racist, which is okay. And certainly that is very true of people in the media, isn't it? We might think of Mike Graham, for example, who definitely wasn't a racist, who definitely was totally appalled at all the racist things that were put up on his Facebook page. And, when he had the opportunity to explain to his employers exactly what had happened there, he declined to go and see them at any stage whatsoever, several times. But anyway, he's definitely not a racist, and he was explaining that to Dan Wootton, who's another guy who definitely isn't a racist and certainly wasn't fired for anything other than being a truth teller, like Mike's about to become, of course. And it is quite strange that all these people that definitely aren't bigots and definitely aren't racist and definitely aren't anything else all seem to hang out together and be mates. It's a bit strange, isn't it? Must be a plot by, the woke lefties, yeah. Or indeed it goes very much further in the sense that, well, you do get people like Lucy Connolly, who, again, just isn't a racist and certainly wouldn't profit from her racism, and yet, she seems to crop up on our screens on a regular basis, like she was around a couple of days ago complaining that the Labour Party indeed, had stopped her going to the USA, despite the fact that anybody with a brain cell would probably have thought it wasn't distinctly speaking the Labour Party and more to do with her bail conditions, as well as the Americans, not wanting nasty foreign criminals to go there. You see, GB News can't seem to get their head round that. I don't know, I think of these things, but that's because I'm a nasty lefty and, I'm like that. I just want to have a go at people for no reason at all whatsoever. I mean, in Lucy Connolly's cases, of course, it was because it was a moment of weakness. And anyway, as she said, she can always play the mental health card. Not that she did, you understand. Not that she definitely did do that, and it still is, no. And you might think as well with Lucy Connolly and being interviewed at the Reform Conference, which is where she was rehabilitated. And of course the person to interview her was Alison Pearson, another person who definitely isn't a racist, even though she was visited by the coppers for posting up something racist, which she's never addressed, even though she took the tweet down. Even though she wasn't a racist, she took the tweet down and has never addressed it. But that, again, is a bit like Nigel Farage. Presumably it hasn't happened and it's just people like me that want to have a go at her. Because, of course, it's only people like me that are racists, aren't we? I'm the racist in all of this, yes. Because everyone else just isn't a racist. And it's strange, though, because, I would have thought on the basic definitions of racism, if you apply it to somebody like, I don't know, let's say a friend of Dan Wootton's like Lawrence Fox, that, it'd be somebody that seems to apply certain negative traits to groups of people with dark skin. Or indeed on a further basis, that just because of those people who have those negative traits attached to them because of for example, their dark skin or maybe their sexuality or any other particular characteristic that, let's face it, you don't like because you're a bit of a misogynist. An awful lot of people out there are like that, or just a misanthrope. There's an awful lot of people out there like that as well. Yeah, if you apply that criteria, then you might decide that, certain people should have, less than other people, in which case I would argue you certainly are a racist. Now, if you apply those two, it just strikes me that surely some of these people actually are racists, aren't they? No, is the answer to that. And if you ask awkward questions, we'll either not mention it at all, or we'll get cross and we'll say that you're the racist here, really, and you keep, well, it loses its meaning, doesn't it, when you call everyone a racist? Except I haven't called anyone here, everyone a racist, have I? Just certain people that do seem to have a, well, track record, one might say. You know, going up in front of the beak if nothing else. Anyway, do have a lovely day, and remember, try not to be a bigot. It's not a very clever thing to be, is it? Yeah, it actually takes brain cells to be a reasonable human being. Probably part of the reason why so many people out there can't quite manage it. Do have a lovely, lovely stay warm day. Enjoy.